Well, hello, fellow wargamers and history buffs, and I am coming to you live from sunny Southern California. For me, it is a lovely Saturday evening, but for my special guest, it is Sunday morning in Japan, and I am joined by. I always get his name wrong, so I'm just going to say Fred. Fred, you
It's
can
Fred.
give your full name so that way I don't have to
It's okay.
mispronounce it.
Fred is fine.
Yeah, I always get the it's not that it's a complicated name, but when I look at it, it's,
There's a lot of letters.
sometimes
Yes.
it is, and I don't know that I think I barely passed French in middle school, so and then I'll
Well,
blame any mispronunciations on my German that I learned in high school, so it's like everything else, it's the Germans are messing things up for the French, so well, how are things
sometimes
in beautiful Japan this morning?
it's hot also here. So it's been hot for the whole summer, but it's nice. So yeah.
Okay. Well, it's been rather toasty out here in Southern California.
Sure.
I had a fencing tournament with my high school team and some of my
Ah,
kids
yeah.
from the local club, so that was good. And we had to ask one of the assistant
That's
athletic
indoors,
directors.
right?
Yeah, it was indoors. It was indoors. Yeah, but we were like, "Is there a way you could get the air conditioning to be a little cooler?" And he's like, "Oh, it's they turned it down for you already." I'm like, "Oh my gosh." Well, we had a few people that were not too happy about that. So next time, hopefully, they'll be able to crank it down a little bit more. But altogether, had fun, good time. For those of you that are tuning in and watching, we've got a couple of people out there. Go ahead and let me know where in the universe you're tuning in from. While Fred and I can start to talk a little bit. So, Fred, I think the last time you and I had chatted, uh, it was back when you were rolling out your second edition of your Albuera game from the Fixed Bayonet
Hmm.
series.
Hmm.
And I know we'd even done some live streams of the Vassal module to kind of teach people how to play the game. And that's been quite a few months ago now, probably 4 months or maybe at least 4 or 5 months.
It's at least maybe beginning of this year. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. I
So
seem to recall
the
February, maybe something like that. So,
campaign was the new campaign was being relaunched. I think at that time, or I was about to relaunch the campaign because we failed the first crowdfunding because the target was too high, and so I had to relaunch with a lower target and a lower production run, and that worked out.
okay.
So I think that's why we
So,
took last.
right. So you were able to um, get the relaunch, the reboot of Albuera 2 out.
Yeah.
How well did the sales go, and how well are the sales going currently with that?
So we managed to get the money to print 300 copies of the game,
Okay.
and we sold about 210 already. So I got
Nice.
90 copies left. So
Okay.
out of the crowdfunding, we got about 200 orders from the backers, and then actually less than 180 from the backers, and then Spain actually requested us to send a few copies, like about 30, 40 copies to Spain for wholesale there. So there is
Okay.
a wholesale company that's distributing us over there, and a smaller game store also over there that's distributing us with a few copies.
Very good. Very
And
good.
with the leftover copies that we have right now, everything is in Japan, so it takes a long time to ship. If you select surface shipping, we can talk about that later about the backers orders. But some of the copies will be sent to America at the end of the year and the beginning of next year. So there's going to be a better opportunity for US customers to actually buy the game at a cheaper shipping price and faster shipping. So that's going to be coming
Okay.
up soon.
Right. But now the people that had backed it, have they gotten their copies yet?
So we had about 10% of the people that selected airmail, which was obviously more expensive. They all got the game within 10 days or
Okay.
14 days max. So that went down fine. And then for all the people that selected surface mail, which is surface shipping via ship, um, the people in Asia. So I got a couple in China and a guy in Thailand. They got their game. The people in Japan, of course, got their game because here it's just taking the truck to their address.
Right.
And most, if not all, of the Canadian backers and Australian backers got their game this week.
Okay.
So it's about 45 days for them to get it. The copies for the US and European backers and UK, they are still somewhere on a ship because I'm tracking them all. And when I track them, if they don't arrive at the destination country and clear customs there, I do not get an update. So I
Right.
cannot tell whether or not it's off the boat or somewhere in a warehouse or whatever. So I don't know where the package is, but as soon as it arrives at the destination country, then I get a flag and and I know. So
Okay. So the stuff is
so
making its way across the oceans of the
yeah,
world.
it's definitely snail mail, like,
Good.
amphibious snail.
Well, we
So
have Olaf Verts. He says, "Hi
hello,
guys, just got my copy in Australia, high quality." All right. Well,
there
that's
you
good.
go.
High praise from
Good,
one of your backers
thank you.
there. So thanks for
Yeah.
chiming in there, Olaf. So good. So the games are going out, and
Mm.
I know I really liked some of the things that you've done with the second edition. I like the sort of you have a bad die roll, bad luck. You get something out of it. You get maybe a card that can be helpful for you in a future game. I thought that was
Mm.
a neat idea. And of course, you have lots of other game mechanics that are part of fixed bayonets that I like. So that's good. Now, did we want to talk then about your upcoming game,
Uh, yeah,
or is
sure.
there more
So
stuff you want to talk about with Albuera?
well, we can circle back to Albuera if we have anything to. But I mean, for the as far as the campaign for Albuera, it's pretty much done now because I'm just waiting for all those copies to arrive in America and in Europe to get a little more. How do you say activity online, like maybe people taking pictures of the game or something like that, to get a little bit of word out. And
Right,
then I'm going to think about starting some marketing for Talavera, which is the next entry in the series. So I'm just waiting for people to settle down, getting their game, trying the game out, starting to play, and see how the feedback goes with that. And then if it's positive, then I'll just go ahead and start the campaign for Talavera. So I think Talavera, maybe what I'll do is as soon as I finish all my files, I'll ask for a few prototype copies. I'll send you one and other reviewers,
right.
and then we'll get started from that. And the
Cool.
campaign might probably be starting the beginning of the year. So I pretty much expect one game a year if everything goes well like that. Maybe
That's
in the
nice.
series, or maybe a different game, so a different series. So
Okay. Well,
yeah.
and as we talked about before, this isn't your only game. You've done a few others, but this is you've actually got. If you do Talavera, that'll be three Napoleonics. You've got
That's right.
Albuera. You did Busaco,
Hmm.
and then now you're working on Talavera. Just out of curiosity, what are you looking at trying to do a second edition, um, uh, revamp of Busaco?
Yeah. Of course, that would be. I was weighing my options whether or not doing a second edition of Busaco first or Talavera. But after getting some feedback, people were like, "Oh no, we want Talavera because Talavera hasn't been redone in a long time." Like
Right.
the last Talavera that was done that I'm aware of was the Clash of Arms one from 1989 or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah. That was
So
quite a
it
while ago.
definitely
Yeah.
needed a rework. So and Busaco has not been done very much, but it's a smaller battle and a little more static. So Talavera, there are more scenarios for Talavera because many things happen during the 3 days of the battle, and then again you have two different armies. You have the Spanish army and the British army for the Allied. So it gives you nice options for the Allied player to just see what he can do with that, because of course he's got one army that's way better than the other, but that's less numerous. So you got to
Right.
be careful with that. So it's a little bit in the same vein as Albuera because you have the same setup for the three armies facing each other. But definitely Busaco, I want to redo it because I got some good feedback from Busaco. The system was working well for that kind of engagement. So
Right.
that's probably going to be next in the pipeline. It's either
Okay.
doing Busaco second edition or working on my air and naval game, World War II game that has been in the works for a long time. and I want to finish and I want to try to publish. But that's a different series, different type of game. So it's a different audience pretty much. I mean, some people like to play all periods, but you focus primarily on Napoleonics. So
Although I play other ones. I just like last weekend I had a friend visiting and we
mm,
played a game from Decision Games. It's a Thai
mm,
Bomba called Nine Navies War, and it's like naval war. Um, no, it's like War at Sea, the old Avalon Hill War at Sea,
oh yeah, yeah.
except it's set during the First World War, and the idea is the French
Oh.
got knocked out by the Schlieffen Plan in
Hmm.
1914, and so the Germans have captured some of the French fleet. The Italians have joined the Central Powers, and so now it's basically all these other different forces are against the British, and it plays just the same bucket of dice rolling, trying to get fives and sixes or whatnot to sink or disable the enemy. So we had a ball playing it. So I do play other games. Don't get me wrong, but
I'm
I
not saying.
yeah, this channel is more or less devoted to Napoleonic games, although I've been doing a lot
Well, I
of
mean,
Battles of the Age of Reason too. So
definitely muskets and musket period.
yes, yes, if there's muskets and guys walking around in funny hats,
But Battle of
that's the
the Age of
period I'm
Reason is
covering.
really the system is really a child of the La Bataille system, right? It's
Yes,
like an
yeah.
updated, more finesse version of La Bataille, so it's pretty much in the same vein. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So that's
Yeah.
why I think it's an okay fit. And then you can also, if you're a Napoleonics player, if you see the tactics and things like that they're doing in the 7 Years' War, 50 years before the Napoleonic period, you can kind of see why. Okay, when the French come along with the French Revolution and they're redoing how they're moving around and combat and everything else, you can see why that was such a huge shock to the system where here's the Austrians and the Prussians and the Russians. Everybody's doing this very clunky
Mhm.
type of maneuver, and suddenly they're being, outflanked and outmaneuvered, um, and so you can kind of get an appreciation of it playing those other games. Plus, they're a lot of fun. I have a good time with that.
Mhm.
So yeah, and I did want to say with Busako, I had a chance. I was in Portugal this spring. I didn't have a chance to get to Busako. I did get to Vimero,
Mhm.
and I did tour the lines of Torres Vedras
Mhm.
there outside of Lisbon. And I mean, those hills are steep.
Yeah, I'm sure they
And
are.
you're
Yes.
just like, okay, I could see why the French had a heck of a time trying to get up the hills
Mhm.
there at Busaco if they're anything like these other ones. And I could see why Massena didn't even think about trying to attack the lines of Torres Vedras. It just would have
Mhm.
been, just too problematic, impossible. So I now have a better appreciation of Busaco, not having visited the battlefield, but at least seen the countryside and having a good appreciation of what the poor French were dealing with. But I
Mhm.
do think that Talavera, as far as a title goes, more people have heard of Talavera than Busaco. Your game, in fact, I think is the first game of Busaco I'd ever seen. Um, and so that was one of the reasons why I purchased it, because I'm like, okay, this is a cool looking little battle. But I didn't know of anybody else having done a treatment on it, certainly at that scale. So I think
Yeah, the
that,
only ones I think was Jour de Gloire, Hexasim.
oh, yeah, yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Third series Jour de Gloire that pretty much gives you a battle or two battles per year of the
Right.
Napoleonic period. So I think they have a Busako in that series, but I never
Yeah,
played it.
they've got a lot of little battles and a fair number of Spanish ones too, from
Mm.
what I can remember. Well, cool. Well, tell us a little bit about Talavera, what you've got going. I've got here on the screen your your booklet, your scenario
Mhm.
booklet, and whatnot.
So we
And
have the footprint of the game is about the same as Albuera. The size of the map is about the same. It's gonna be a little skinnier map, longer map, um, and the armies are larger than in Albuera. So we have a two corps for the French, and then we have a full Spanish army with like 6 divisions, I think, plus the cavalry, or 5 divisions plus the cavalry, and then the British with 2, 3 divisions plus the cavalry. There you go, or 4 divisions. There you go.
okay,
So there are definitely more. more counters on the map, and it's less of a meeting engagement like Talavera is, at least for the French, because the French have to pretty much like Albuera is. The French in Albuera, they have to enter their whole
Right.
troops on the map and set up. So it takes a little bit of time for the battle itself to develop. Here, there are several scenarios, and most of them start with the armies facing each other. So you jump right into the action. Basically, it's a slugfest from the first turn on. So we have a five scenarios, I think, for the battle, because the battle took place during the course of pretty much 3 days. The first combat that take place is on the evening of the first day. So that's a night battle. So it's a very small
Okay.
engagement at night, and it allows you to actually experience the night rules for fixed bayonets, which it's pretty rare to actually have an engagement at night, and shows you how difficult it is to maneuver in the dark, basically.
Right.
not not really knowing where you're going, and units getting lost and stuff like that. So it's interesting. It definitely slows down the pace of the game, and it's a good introductory scenario because it's only infantry, very small, very clear victory conditions. So that's good to start up. Then the second scenario is the morning assault um, on the second day of the battle, or first full day of the battle, and that involves only the one of the maps, so you don't have to use the full map. So it's just the right side of the map, the north side, and that's basically an infantry assault. Also, a few cavalry units are there on the right French flank, but that's about it. So here, yeah, on that scenario one, that's the night attack on the
Right.
Cerro de Medellin, which is the larger mountain
On the hill.
on,
Yeah.
on the battle. It's not like Busaco. It's not that steep of a hill, but it was still the highest feature on that battlefield there.
Right.
That's where Wellington was basically sitting the whole time to observe the battle. That's the British flank. Um, so first scenario at night. Second scenario is the morning assault that Victor did on that same mountain. So
Right.
as you can see from the setup there are more formations. There are more combat groups that are involved in that one.
Right.
Uh,
It looks like we've got one, two, three,
Three divisions plus
three
the
French
cavalry.
divisions plus the
Yeah.
cavalry. Yeah, and the French artillery, reserve
and
artillery.
then and then the British got also about 2.5 division, because half of the first one is on the other side there, and they did not participate in the battle.
Right.
So that's scenario two, and then scenario three is the afternoon assault, which involves the fourth corps that arrives on the here you can see the map with the historical setup. That's the south side of the map with the city of Talavera in
Up
the
here. Yeah.
yeah, up there. And so the Spanish army is basically holding that part of the line. And most of the battlefield on that side is olive groves. So not much line of sight and not much ability for the cavalry to charge. They would get disordered as soon as they would move into those areas with the olive trees and stuff like that,
Right.
and vineyards.
Vineyards. Yeah.
So that's pretty much that's why you have like a division of dragoons on the left side there, but they cannot really do much because if they
Right.
start to charge, they just get disordered, and it's just not going to be efficient at all. So the French really during that battle decided that the Spanish army was not a threat. So they basically covered their left flank with just a division of dragoons and tried to pummel the British side to try to make
Right.
them run. And because they knew that if the British would run, the Spanish army probably would run
Right.
alongside as soon as they saw them run, which probably was correct. You see, if he had managed to break the line there, it probably would have happened. So that's why they really never bothered attacking the Spanish, except at the connection between the two armies that you can see at the bottom right of the screen there, the Pajar de Vergara. That's a
Right.
small 45 position where some Spanish and British artillery were positioned there, and that's where the two armies connect. And there were some engagements in that area where the Spanish did take part, especially Spanish cavalry that charged the French German division, the French division with the German troops. Actually, that's the second division of the fourth corps there. That's got a lot of colorful uniforms from all the German allies after the Confederation of the Rhine and Nassau and all that stuff.
Right.
So they were a little less reliable troops, and then the Spanish managed to actually bring push them back at that point during the battle. So
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 with
that
this particular scenario, are the French attacking the Spanish, or
oh
are
the
the Spanish attacking the French?
so the afternoon scenario starts with the Fourth Corps moving on map and starting to attack that connection between the two armies, the Brits
Ah,
and the
okay.
Spanish, right? So it's up to the player to decide which way he wants to go. If he wants to attack the Spanish that are weaker troops, or try to break through that fortified position in the middle to just split the two armies, he can do that. He's got a lot of troops. But at the same time, there is another assault taking place again on the Cerro de Medellin, on that mountain on the north map, where
Right.
the first corps again for the third time. First is a night assault, the second is a morning assault, and for the third time, tries to storm the hill there, and they again for the third time fail to do it. And that's at that point when they fail to take the hill, they decide to stop, and they just stop the assault on the whole line and decide to regroup. And then even
Okay.
though I can't remember if it's Sebastiani or Victor that decides to stay. One of the corps stays on the battlefield for the night because they want to pursue in case the Allied armies decide to withdraw. But
Right.
eventually, because there is only one corps left, the marshal in charge, or general, because Sebastiani was not a marshal, decides to withdraw also. What they didn't know is that the Allied decide to withdraw too. So if everybody
Oh,
withdraws at the end of the battle. So Wellington decides he got hit too hard. So he says, okay, well, I'm going to cross the Tagus River and go back towards Portugal. And then the Spanish army says, oh, well, we're not going to stay here alone. So they follow suit.
right.
And so everybody leaves the field with no real strategic victory there. It's a tactical victory again for the British
Right.
because they managed to stop the French from taking the position and routing the army. But strategically, it's a draw again. They just hit each other and go back in their corner, right?
Right.
So there are definitely some options for the players to actually change what happened, especially because they have a lot of French troops, and they can, if they organize their assault properly, they can actually do some kind of a rolling line where they send one division up, trying to weaken the line, and then make them move away and send another division to try to finish the job, which was not done actually historically. Historically, they engaged their division piecemeal, the French, and that's why they could never break the line, because they never brought enough reserves to actually put the pressure on.
Right.
Uh, but in the game system, you can do that if you manage your orders correctly and you manage to get those divisions in motion. Then you can do it.
Yeah, you can do a well, that's the point with a lot of these games. See if you can do better than what happened
Yeah,
historically. Of course, we know more from where we're at hovering above the map than the folks did at the time. So,
definitely. We know that the Spanish army is on paper weaker, and so I think a French player might want to just try to attack the Spanish instead of the British, right? And leave
right.
the
And
British alone
that's
and
what
try
we
to
see a
rout
lot
them.
with like La Bataille de
Mm,
Talavera. Most of the times that I've played that, it's been the case where the French have said it's easier for us to beat up the Spanish,
mm.
and then it's hard for the British to come and try to come to their rescue.
But
So a lot of times that's the strategy to take.
I have not tried to do a full-blown assault on the Spanish in whatever playtest I've played by myself there using the vassal module that I finished. But I think there might be some logistical problems because of the terrain and stuff like that. So it might not be as easy as it looks.
Well, it
And the
looks like
Spanish
with
have
all
a lot
those
of
olive groves that yes, it's going to take you a long time.
yeah.
Plus, I don't know that you're going to be able to deploy your artiillery through the olive groves, or if you
No,
do,
the,
it's
the
going to
line of
take
sight
them.
will be
Yeah,
yeah. The line of sight is blocked, so it's very very hard to get the artillery in a good position. On the other hand, the artillery that's on the um, on the right side there for the French, they did like pre-assault bombardment twice. They did one in the morning and one in the afternoon, and it it was not as effective as they would have liked. But in the game, it's pretty effective.
oh,
if you
okay.
if you get unlucky, you can get that British line, pretty rattled on that hill to prepare for the assault. So, and I've got special rules set up for the bombardment, so it's not part of the normal sequence of play. You do a pre-bombardment or a pre-phase. That's a bombardment phase where you actually roll the dice for the artillery and try to reform the units that get hit. And when you do a few turns of that, then you can start the battle per se with using the normal rules. So
Okay.
we got a
So
little
basically, as a way to save time,
yeah.
you've got something that's mimicking what happened historically with the bombardment.
Yeah. It's still using the same fire system and the same values on the counter. It's just the sequence of play is streamlined just to focus on the artillery firing continuously on that position and nothing else happening, right? So that's what it is. And then so that's for the afternoon scenario. Then scenario 4 is the full battle, basically starting from the morning. That gives the player a little more choice in what they want to do. And in order to make the whole day work without it being too heavy of a scenario, I introduced a truce system, which actually happened during the battle. Is that at a certain point, the French player can declare a truce, and he can retreat his units, reform the units, reduce the fatigue of all his divisions, and
Right.
reset basically for the afternoon.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
so that you have it's like a combination of scenario 2 and 3 into one, but of course the results are going to be combined. Or of course the losses that you're going to get and stuff like that are going to influence the second part of the battle. So that allows you to play the whole day. And then there is
Nice.
an and the last one, the last scenario is the night battle that you play first, and then you record the result of the night battle, and then you play scenario 4 after, which would
Okay.
be the 2-day battle basically.
Okay. So if you want to do the whole thing, then you can get all of that done.
Yeah.
Cool. It looks like here we got
So
more
as you can
setup
see,
stuff here.
way more meat, way more. It's more chunky than Albuera. There's more stuff going on there in that battle. It's
Right. And as I
also
recall with Albuera, um, with your second edition, we had a small infantry engagement with the French against the Spanish out on one end of the line. And then you had a small cavalry engagement. So that way players could get familiar with the general rules and mechanics of it. And then you had the full battle.
yeah, and a free setup battle also where you can place your units as you wish instead of using the historical setup.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Now
Yeah. Well,
here
this one looks like it's good.
I don't have a free setup for this one because it would be, I don't know, too much chaos maybe. But people they can still place their counter wherever they want if they want to just alter the historical setup. It's not a problem.
Well, cool. And then here in the back, you've got your historical notes where you've got looks like uniforms and all the rest. Tell me a
Mhm.
little bit about the research project for this, because if this is your, we know that you'd already, done. I think the first version of Albuera that you put out was that 5 years ago?
That was in 2020, or yeah, 5 years ago, I think so. Yes.
Okay, so this one is a new one. So tell me a little bit about the research that you've been doing and the process for then creating this game.
So initially, I did like I always do. I just read the sources. I read the latest books in English language that they have. So I have where is it? Where is the book? My main source was this one, the book by Field, which is this one, the Talavera book
Okay,
here. And so that's not a big book, but it gives you a good overview of the battle. Then I use some French sources that also gave you an overview. And then after doing that and gathering all the basic information to set up the order of battle and the timeline and all that, I actually got in touch with a Spanish historian that lives in Talavera, Jose Manuel Rodriguez Gomez, and he
say
helped
that three
me.
times
He helped
fast.
me. He helped me actually go through the Spanish order of battle and update that because there were some Spanish studies that were published in 2009 and research into the Spanish archives that they have in the city there that actually completely changed, or completely, partially changed the way we see the order of battle of the Spanish army for that battle. So,
Okay.
um, uh, like for example, there is a reserve division that was never mentioned in any of the British source, and they did have a reserve division there
Huh.
that had some of the units. The organization of where the units were in which division was also a little different. How many people, how many the manpower on those units too was different.
Right.
On the first night, there are a few Spanish units that flee because they get spooked basically by the French dragoons unloading their pistols, and then you have like 3 or 4 battalions just running away. And actually, a few of those guys were decimated or were selected for execution, just as an example, by the Spanish general. So
Right.
rough. And it's Wellington intervened to actually. He told him to chill out because at first he wanted to execute like hundreds of people, and eventually it was just a few dozens that got shot by a firing squad. And so those units actually came back to the field, and so there was a discrepancy between the British source that said that they completely left and the Spanish source that said that they were rallied and brought back on in the line. So my
Right.
first order of battle contained less Spanish units than now, because I thought those units are completely vanished and dissolved, but no, they were actually present. And then he helped me also with the uniforms, because of course Spanish uniform research, it's very hard because those units appear and disappear throughout the war, and some of them are provincials and some of them are militias and some of them are volunteers, and
Right.
and you never know what they were wearing, so it's pretty hard to figure that out, except for the line units from the old Bourbon army that pretty much got destroyed in 1808. But he helped me to try to actually pinpoint some of those units and what they were wearing. And but of course, there's a lot of guessing game, especially
Yeah.
for the Spanish. The French and the Brits are pretty much, you pretty much know what those people were wearing. But for the Spanish armies, sometimes you gotta guess. But I got some good updates from him too, and I bought a couple of Spanish books also on Spanish uniforms that are very helpful, also to actually figure that out. And I wish I had those source for Albuera, because I got some of those uniforms updated that were not completely correct in
Right.
Albuera. I apologize, but the more you do research, the more you find out new stuff. So
Yeah. And once you publish a game, there's not much you can do, you
yeah,
know.
yeah, especially for the just the appearance of stuff. It's not the system problem; it's just the way things look. But it's just
Yeah.
small details. It has no effect on gameplay.
Well, if people really want to fix it, they just get out their little magic marker, or they can get out their paintbrush and they can paint a new uniform on the
Or they,
counter.
or they print their own counters. I mean, I used to do
That's
that's how I
true.
started. I started by just reprinting counters for the La Bataille games because I didn't like their counters, the old series, the old La Bataille, not the latest ones,
Right.
but the very old ones. When they had those thin
Yeah,
cardboard.
really thin paper, yes.
So I used to reprint counters and just update the uniforms like that. So yeah, people do that too. No problem.
There you go. That's how the addiction gets started.
Yeah,
You do that, next thing you know, you're publishing your own games. So
I
I
suppose.
don't know. That
So
that should
the
be a cautionary tale for everyone who's out there watching.
yeah, because making the game is not well, it's not that easy, but it's not that hard. It's fun, right? Making the game, doing the research, creating the uniforms, making the counters, the map. That's the fun part. The not so fun part is doing the marketing, keeping on top of the customer service, and figuring out the shipping and the price and the tax and the tariff and this and that. That's a little less fun. But
Well, yes, I'm sure with all the tariff stuff, that's been another wrench in the works.
yeah, I have no idea what's going on. It's on, it's off, it's on, it's off. It depends on the country. It's just so on our website. Unfortunately, the only thing we can do is if you get hit by a tariff, then you're ultimately responsible to pay the tariff, because we don't
Right.
know what it's going to be. We cannot pay it in advance. There is no system set up to do that. There is a system set up for the VAT in Europe, but you need to obtain an IOSS number, a tax number, basically European tax number, and you cannot just do that by yourself. You need to go through a handling company that
Right.
charges a fee and stuff like that. And I'm not big enough to actually start contracting sub companies to deal with my exports. I'm
Yeah.
just I'm just shipping one game a month after the campaign is over, right? So it's just not feasible. So the same thing for that. People that buy the game in Europe, unless they buy it in Spain or second hand from a Spanish retailer, which will sell them the game as is, then they would have to pay the VAT on arrival.
Yeah. Well, and
That's
it's not like there's a lot of like your margin is something huge here anyway, because
no, no.
you know,
No,
you're you're only publishing what did you say with Albuera was 300 some odd games.
Mm,
So it's not like you're getting a huge, discount like some of these GMT games where they print 5,000,
mm.
and so therefore because of volume they have a very low initial cost for each per game. Obviously they got to buy 5,000 games or print 5,000 games, but
But they know they're gonna sell them though,
yeah,
so
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah, yeah,
they
yeah,
are good there. But here, yeah, it's crazy. When you go from 300 to 500, it's pretty much $2 a game difference, which makes
hmm,
a difference when when you start. And then you go from 500 to 1,000. That's another $2 or $3 off per unit.
right,
So it does make a difference. And for Albuera, we basically, with what we got from the crowdfunding and the fluctuation in cost for shipping and all that stuff, and we had to pay an import tax also when all the game arrived in Japan, because that was a commercial product that was coming into the country, so we did that too.
right.
So after all that is counted, we just made it even pretty much.
Hmm.
So there was not much of a profit there. It was just the joy of publishing the game and getting it out, right, and just getting the name out. So
Well,
that's
and I
that's
think that I mean, you've got a handful of games that you haven't sold yet, so I guess you could sell those, and then you're gonna get whatever
yeah.
the
If we
so
sell those, we'll start making a little bit of profit.
yeah. And I think that's the case with some of the other game companies, folks I've talked with, where oftentimes with those Kickstarter funds, they get enough and they'll pour all the money from that into, ordering more, like maybe twice as many as what they actually
Mm,
got for the Kickstarter. So say they sold 200, they'll get 400 copies printed. They'll get the 200 to the people that had pledged, and then they've got an inventory of, a couple hundred that they can sell.
mm.
And those then that's where they're making then their profit from those sales.
Yeah.
So with something small like that, I guess that would be the way to think
Well,
about it.
those bigger companies have distributors also, so they can deal with like Noble Knight Games, or they can deal with other distributors that are going to take a bunch of their inventory and just deal with the distribution on locally on their end.
Right.
And I don't have that. I mean, the only people that got in touch with me were those two Spanish companies that decided to buy a few games from me.
Yeah,
So
but that's nice. That's a start. And then, if you hopefully those do well in Spain, in which case then if you do, this Talavera game here next year, and then Busako maybe the year after that,
mm,
it's a chance for you to get out. And then maybe some other distributors will pick it up. You never
yeah.
know.
Right.
Certainly, if you get somebody here in the US, then that could maybe cut some of the shipment costs.
Yeah, we
It's
gotta
obvious.
clear out the tariff stuff first, because this is just the game is printed in China but sent from Japan, and China was like a 45% tariff. Then they suspended it for 90 days again, and Japan is 30. So I don't know.
Well, you could just wait for the next administration.
Yes.
Just wait, see who comes in, the next time,
So
2028.
as a, did
So,
I didn't mention it on stream, but we're gonna get a few copies of the game into the US, and we're going to be able to sell the game from our base in Florida,
oh,
or
okay.
using a priority mail, USPS priority mail. So it's going to be about $20 shipping, and it's going to arrive within a week,
Oh,
instead of
nice.
being $30 shipping and arrive within 3 months. So
Okay.
so that's going to start in late September, probably October. I'm going to have some copies there that are going to be able to be available, and you can just buy them on the website, basically on our website.
Nice, nice. That should be good. Yeah, when I was out at Consim, there in July, I
Mm.
bumped into a couple of people who had your first edition of
Oh,
Albuera and had played it and had a lot of fun, and we were talking about the second edition. And so it was nice to see that I wasn't the only person who out there who'd played the game, but there was a couple of other people that had enjoyed it too. So we were commenting on that. So over time, hopefully more people will hear about it and find out about it. And then you and I need to do something stuff where we do some more Vassal so we can show people
yeah.
what that looks
So
like too.
so yeah, the vassal. Here, if I can, maybe I can show you the vassal. module is right there. It's working fine. Here actually you can see the what's happening. That's the assault for scenario 3. So that's the full battle. So you have the first
Okay.
corps right here that's assaulting the Terre de Medellin, where the British are, and then on that side here you have the fourth corps with the German division first, and then the first division from Sebastiani's corps that are hitting historically the connection between the Spanish and the British army in that area here.
Right.
The,
Hitting them there on the hinge.
yeah, and so there you go. That's a full map. Uh, oops, right there. And so as you can see, the whole map is busy. So there are things to do everywhere.
Right.
And so yeah, we can definitely run a game there because it's ready to go. So
Cool.
production wise, the game is finished basically. I just have to write a little bit of background information on the leaders to put on the back side of the let me change my camera back. There you go.
What
Yeah, so
on the
back side of
cards?
the order of battle cards,
Oh,
right? Like
on the order of battle.
Albuera.
Okay.
So I got to do this for Talavera, but the rest is done. The booklet is done, the map, the counters, and also actually I do have an updated version of the rule book, but I'm not gonna put it out until everybody gets Albuera. Do not confuse people. Just play Albuera with the 2.3 version of the series book rule book. But I did a reread of the whole rule book, and I actually noticed some small inconsistencies in the rules when I was playing Talavera, where I was
Okay.
playing Talavera. So I made some updates, and pretty soon I will publish an errata sheet that you can download on the website for the 2.3 rulebook, and I will publish a PDF version of the 2.4 rulebook. And there are
Okay.
just a few details and clarifications, mostly clarifications where some points might have been misconstrued or might be not explained properly. So, but no real change. The only big change actually is the ricochet rule, which not in the original rule ricochet would not happen if you were firing uphill.
Right.
But in the new version, it doesn't happen if it's not a level fire. Because when I read the source for Talavera, I noticed that whether or not the French were firing up or down the hill, their cannonballs would just bury themselves in the ground and not produce any type of ricochet and taking away the whole ranks of men, right?
Right.
So I just updated that rule for that. But as you can see, it's just details like this. You know, it's
Right.
stuff that happened once in a game, and it doesn't change the system completely. It's just little updates. So that's going to come soon. But as I said for Talavera, I'm waiting for people to get their game because as like out of the 200 people that backed us, right now about maybe 50 of them got their game. So I'm
Right.
still waiting for the majority of those surface packages to make it. And as soon as people get the game on the table, start playing it, then I'll decide on the timeline for Talavera, which probably is going to be some playtesting during the fall, and then starting of the campaign next year, January or February next year.
Okay. Well, that sounds good. That sounds promising. Yeah, and it's I mean, it's kind of nice. I was talking with another colleague there at Consim about the ability to have these sort of games published. You have an idea, you put it together. You use Game Crafter there for the first for your first version of
Mhm.
Albuera, and I thought the quality of the stuff that Game Crafter did was very nice.
Mm,
Um, and that's the sort of thing that 20, 30 years ago, there's no way you could do that.
yeah, yeah.
And so, a lot of the different things that are available now for people to do stuff, to come up with some ideas, make some their own games, kind of see how it goes. And in your case, you saw that Albuera did well with Game Crafter, and so that prompted you then to work on coming out with a different edition that's a little bit easier for people to pricing wise. It
Oh
was
yeah.
about half what the Game Crafter version cost. And so then
And the
that
production quality, even though Game Crafter is nice, the production quality of a like a professional printing house that does that, you know, for a living. It's
Right.
just better. It's just better. The counters are better. There is no soot. There is no laser cut.
I don't know.
The map
I like the soot. I felt like I'd been
you
in battle with the soot all over my fingers, and you know, if I could been
I'll
firing up.
sprinkle. I'll sprinkle some barbecue charcoal in the next box to send you.
There you go. Just a whiff, a little whiff of it there
Yeah, yeah.
to make it go there. All right. Well, cool. Is there anything else that you wanted to mention or comment on before we wrap things up? And for anybody who's watching, if you have any questions, this would be a great time to post them so we can answer those for you. Otherwise, is there anything else that you wanted to chat a little bit about?
No, just the. I hope everybody enjoys Albuera when they get it, and I apologize for the time it takes, but that's out of my control, really. You know, if you select surface shipping, you never know when the ship is gonna make it to port. So that's unfortunate, but that's the way it is from right now from the where I'm sending my games from.
Right.
But as soon as people get talking about Albuera and see if they like the system, then I will decide whether or not I'm putting Talavera out and starting a campaign. But it's probably will because the feedback has been good so far.
Well,
So,
good. And
so
you're going to use GameFound again, or is
yeah,
there
yeah, yeah,
another?
yeah.
Okay.
I'm definitely because GameFound is very the it was very seamless actually to get everything done. As soon as everything was set up, it's very easy to use the website to communicate with the backers, to get a list of them, their address, all their information. Everything can be processed pretty efficiently. And financially, what happens is as soon as you get funded, there is like a waiting period for 2 weeks, I think, and then they release the funds. So they send you the
Oh,
funds,
nice.
and then the second phase, when people actually finalize their pledge by entering their shipping information and selecting the shipping they want, you get a second batch of money that covers all the shipping, right? So
Okay.
you get your money in basically two big chunks. You know, the game itself, the shipping. So that covers your costs when you have to ship the game when eventually it arrives. And so everything actually worked out because the time it takes for the money to get released and the time it takes for the games themselves to get sent from the factory to me was about the same. So by the time I got the money, I got the games, and I could send them right away. So the shipping, everything went on schedule. I mean, shipping
Right.
took me maybe less than a month, 2 or 3 weeks to ship about 200 copies, and that was a lot of packing up stuff in the garage. And, and there was only one problem with the game that I have to mention is that the game came with two 10-sided dice that were numbered 1 to 9 instead of being number. I'm sorry, 1 to well, oh no,
One to
1 to 10, 1 to 10,
okay.
1 to 10 instead of 0 to 9.
Right.
And the system is a 0 to 9 system because when
Yeah.
you get a roll as low as possible, and all the numbers in the system are set up to work with that 0 to 9 roll, right? So, and even though I told the factory, please, I need that kind of dice, they just made the mistake and put the
Ah.
wrong dice in every box. So I got in touch with them, and within a week they sent me like a bag of 300 or 600 dice, so for free, which was nice. So I got my dice, but the problem is that now I have to add 2 dice in every box that I send. So I have to put two. And so if you receive your box, for those that are still waiting, make sure you don't throw away the wrapping, bubble wrap around it too fast. Make sure you check that those dice are in there, because I've got a couple of people that had to go fish them in the garbage because they didn't realize that those dice were actually part of the wrap
Oh, so in the
outside of
bubble
the box.
wrap.
Yeah,
So you didn't obviously the box itself was shrink wrapped.
exactly. I don't have a
So
shrink wrap machine, so I couldn't just
yeah, yeah, yeah.
open the box, put the dice in, and close it again. So that's the
Okay.
only way I can do it.
Cool,
So
cool.
that's the only prem I had for production there.
Okay.
Otherwise, I had one person that had a map that was kind of delaminated. The
Hmm.
cardboard was like tearing, and so
Right.
I sent them a replacement map. That's the only bad thing I heard so far.
Okay. We've got a question here from Robo's Super Channel. He says, I have enjoyed pushing counters around so far, but have not yet tackled the main scenario.
It's
So
it's a time investment in the main scenario for sure.
yeah. Yeah. But
But I mean, you
I was going to say, I think it's worthwhile. You certainly get a very good feel for things when you've got all the different pieces in play. And for the French player, I think if you're playing at solitaire, it's easy. You're going to play the French player, and then the British and the Spanish are kind of on defense, so it's a little easier for you to think about them as a bot type of a thing. So,
but it's and even though the scenario could last very long, usually at a certain point you realize that the other side cannot win, so you can just call it a day and say, okay, well, that was it. So pretty much you can, I think, maybe 2 sessions of 8 hours. If you just go without a break for 2 sessions of 8 hours, you can probably get a good result with the main scenario, which is pretty much standard for most big war games, right? You gotta take your time. It's not like playing a computer game where it can be wrapped up in a session, right? You gotta invest some time in it. But then for Talavera, it's gonna be the same. Like the night scenario can be finished in an hour. The second scenario, that first assault, can be finished in 1 session, maybe less than 8 hours, maybe 6 hours, 4 hours. And then the big battle there, that takes long.
It's going to take a lot of time, and it depends on which way you want to steer the army. And what's nice, I guess, is if you can kind of get some type of understanding of who's going to win, who's going to lose, or at least where things are at, then you can set it up again and try a different way, attack, focus on the Spanish, or focus on a different spot on the battlefield to try to launch the attack. So cool. Yeah. And I
think our next step, we should just try to play maybe one of the smaller scenario for Talavera to just because that gives you a good idea of the system also, just to go through one of the scenarios like that.
Yeah, no, and I think that would be a lot of fun. You've got the vassal module set, and have you made the vassal module for Albuera available yet, or is that still?
Oh, it is on the vassal website. Yeah. It is on the
okay.
Website. If we go, let's see.
So they could find it under Tactical Workshop.
It's let me make sure that the link still works. Yes, it works. It's right there. There, it's right there.
Okay,
so that's the actual official vassal page, right? So it's 1.5.0b. There you go.
Okay, cool.
It works fine.
Well, and it worked fine when we were doing our sort of exploration and a little bit of play testing there in earlier this year. So cool.
Yeah, and I used that module as a base to make the Talavera one. So I basically just put new map, new counters, maybe update a little bit of the mechanics behind the right click selection in the menus and stuff like that. But I didn't have to update much. It worked fine. So, but this time I made the module before I got a prototype. Albuera had prototypes, and I was playtesting on the table before I actually made it. It's when somebody told me, "Oh, you should really make a vassal module," and I was like, "Oh, that's another thing I have to add to the stuff I have to do." But and I hadn't made a vassal module for 10, 15 years, right? The last one I made was for a GMT, maybe War Galley or something like that. I used to make vassal modules for them. I mean, unofficially, of course, I was not working for them, but I would just put them out for their games, the Great Battle of History and stuff like that. And but I hadn't touched the software for a long time, so it took me a while to get used to how to make a module that works. But as soon as you get the hang of it, and especially when you have the same series of game and you can actually copy paste one module to the other and just change units and stuff, it's much faster. So that one is working fine. That module, for whoever downloads it in the future when it becomes available, requires a little more memory than normal. So you have to increase your heap size. There is a setting in Vassal where you decide how much RAM you allocate to the program, because the map is larger. And if you start zooming in too much, then the program might run out of memory. It happened to me the other day. So that's just a heads up.
Okay, cool. Well, at this point, we're almost coming up on an hour here. Doesn't look like we have any other questions at the moment. If anybody's watching this video after the fact, after live streams ended, and you have some questions, you can go ahead and post those in the comment section. I'll try to answer if I can. And Fred, you can kind of look along and see if anybody posted anything there. and that way then you can reply as well. Or what is your website if people want to try to contact you directly, Fred?
So the website is tacticalworkshop.com. So it's right here. So
Okay.
tacticalworkshop.com. And then if you want to contact me, it's support at tacticalworkshop.com. That's our primary customer email. And so that's the store page. It opens on the store page there. So right now only Albuera, of course, is on sale. Everything else is just. And here is your preview of Talavera on the. There you go. So that's where you get your information. We also have a Facebook page and stuff. But
Here we've got a couple of other questions that have been posted here. Let's see. Joined late, so we'll have to watch again from the start. That's okay, and make sure you watch the ads. That's how I get a few pennies every time anybody watches my YouTube
well, I
ad.
subscribe to YouTube Red, so now I don't get ads anymore. So.
Oh, okay. Well, do you find it's worthwhile?
Well, it's pretty much. I don't really watch. There is no real TV per se here, except for streaming services. So YouTube is where I get most of my information.
Yeah.
Either for general news or even for gaming. So yes. So at first you're like, okay, fine, I'll go through the ad. But then they started putting more and more ads. They would break a
Yes.
video like every 5 minutes. It would end up being like watching regular cable, right? So
Yeah, no,
so
I
I
did
said,
not realize until I was watching one of my own live streams after the fact how, like, I kid you not, every 4 minutes they were putting in an ad. I'm like, this is ridiculous. So I toggled it so that it's like, okay, put in an ad a lot less frequently, kind of thing. So on the creator side of things, you could either crank it up so they're sending you an ad every 30 seconds, or dial it down so maybe once every 10 minutes they're popping up an ad. But it is a little nuts. And I did notice too, I watch a fair amount of stuff on YouTube. It's just like, okay, they're sending more ads than they had done before. So Robo's got another question. When will Talavera be launched on GameFound?
So as I mentioned earlier, but you missed it because you were not following the stream. My plan is if everybody's happy with Albuera, when everybody gets it, is going to be to launch in the beginning of next year. So probably January, February, I'm going to launch a campaign because the game design phase is finished. So game is ready to go. I don't want to overload people with, there is another game. I have to just back another campaign and stuff like that. And I don't even have my first game, so I don't want to do that. I just want to give some breathing time for the backers. So January, probably.
Well, and I would imagine that the people that are most likely to purchase the next game are those that have been enjoying the existing game.
Exactly.
So yeah, it does make sense. Yeah, does make sense to give them some time to play it. Yeah.
The first one,
Yeah. So yeah, and the fact that you already got the design stuff done is something. So I know that sometimes people are out doing stuff and they don't have all their ducks in a row before they're asking for money and doing stuff, and then you end up getting in trouble because then everyone's like, where's my game? And it's been 2 years, kind of a thing. So I think you got a better to have the game kind of ready to go, and then take your time with actually doing the campaign. So let's see.
It's easier when you're the only one handling the you're in charge, right? There's no producer, designer, editor, publisher, and everybody has to agree on what's in the box and how that's going to look. And when you look at some GMT games, it takes forever for them to come out because we're in printed stage, or we are in the design stage or the graphic stage, and everybody has to just get along and figure out what they want to print out, because a lot of people's job depend on it. So they want to make sure they put out the best product. So it takes a long time.
Yeah.
For me, as soon as I'm happy with the product, I just put it out. So it's easier. I'm the only one person to please initially.
Yeah, that's true. You are everything there. Well, and that's good too. I mean, I do have to give GMT credit. I've got a friend who's been involved with designing one of the great battles of the American Civil War
Mhm.
games, and oh gosh, they've been playtesting it for quite a while now, at least a couple of years, and you can understand why. I mean, they're planning on making more of the games in the series. If you put out a game that's a loser, I mean, it's got
Mhm.
problems or this or
Is
that or
that the
whatever
Soul
else,
and Bayonet
you're going to
new
have a lot
series?
of people that sour on it.
Is that the
So
Soul and Bayonets new series that they are coming out with?
so no,
Or
it's so sorted by Sword and Bayonet, I think, is the title of one particular game that
ah,
Alan Dickerson put together,
mm,
and I think it's got 3 or 4 small battles in it.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but they've had like Into the Woods as Shiloh and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So the one my friend's been involved with is The Wilderness, which is
Mm.
not yet published, but I think it hit its P500. So it is going to happen. But they've been doing a lot of play testing, and they want to make sure that for something like this, particularly for something as complicated as The Wilderness, where you have you know fires starting and people and your troops getting lost in the forest and everything else, how do you handle the mechanics of that? So there was a lot of complicated things they had to kind of figure out, and then they had to play test it enough to make sure it's working. So I can appreciate the time they put into it, to put together then a good product. So all
Mhm.
right, well, Robo's excuse was it's Sunday morning where he's at, had other things on his mind apparently.
Like sleeping in. Oh, it's
That's
Sunday morning,
okay.
just like here. There you go. He's in my
Yeah, yeah,
time
yeah.
zone.
So, yeah, I'm not sure where Robo is. I mean, you're in Japan, so you're already Sunday morning where you're at. It's still Saturday evening here where I'm at. So
Maybe he's in
maybe
Australia.
Robo is in Australia or
Mhm.
further parts of the universe. So, all right. Well, Fred, it
Oh,
was great to catch
what
up with you. Yes.
one last thing. One last thing. I'm right now. I'm experimenting in setting up some streaming stuff. Even though I'm not really planning on streaming per se with people watching me, but I want to put out a series where I'm just playing the game on Vassal, showing the mechanics and stuff like that, just as a series of play aid for people that just get into the system. So I'm gonna try to set that up and put some videos on the company's YouTube channel, Tactical Workshop, and so
Okay.
that might be coming soon. But definitely, we need to do something together to try out Talavera.
Yeah, no, I'd love that. And Robo has answered the question. He's in Australia there. So we kind of figured it had to be somewhere on that side of the universe.
Yeah,
So, well, terrific. Well, for those of you that are tuning in, yeah, thanks. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have other questions, you can post stuff in the comments, or you can contact Fred directly at tacticalworkshop.com. And we're crossing our fingers that the Talavera will be coming out for a potential campaign sometime early part of maybe spring of 2026,
that's right.
and see how that
Oh, the
goes.
campaign will definitely happen. It's just we'll see if it works out. But the campaign will be launched eventually, so that's
So
gonna happen. Yeah.
there we go. That's good. And for everybody else who's out there who has already got your Albuera game, I hope that you're enjoying it. And for those of you that haven't gotten it yet, Fred
It's
has
coming.
said
It's
it's
coming.
it's on the boat. It's a slow boat from China, or in this case, it's a slow boat from Japan. We're
Yes.
not sure which.
They're
Um,
paddling. They're paddling.
yeah, there you go. All right. Well, Fred, it was great to catch up with you. And
Thank
for
you.
everybody else who's out there, until our next next episode, everybody be well, keep playing, and have fun.
Bye bye. Pleasure.